Have you ever thought to yourself, gosh, I love the beauty of the night sky. I really want to take a picture of the stars. But then when you Google astrophotography on YouTube, you end up seeing a gearhead in his garage with so many cords and cables and equipment, it looks like he robbed a few Radio Shacks before they went out of business. Wait, you don't know what Radio Shack is? I'm getting old. Hi everyone, I'm Father James Krasinski, priest of the Diocese of La Crosse, author for Sacred Space Astronomy, and I am the official Vatican Observatory fanboy. That's right, I'm not a scientist, I don't work for the Vatican Observatory, but I do collaborate with them on their blog Sacred Space Astronomy. You can find a link for it down below. And I've decided after years of writing for them, which I love to do immensely, it was time for me to add an outlet for video from time to time. I could tell that sometimes the pieces that I write really would help to have some video go along with it. So this is my first crack at it. I'm not doing anything spectacular. I'm reading off my computer, so if you see some screen glare off my glasses, I'm sorry. You can see, I've heard that you have to have cheesy lighting to have a YouTube channel, so I decided, what the heck, there's the cheesy lighting, along with the cheesy intro. We're going to have fun. The collar's down, my workday is done, it's time just to relax, enjoy God's creation, and talk about how we can engage you. And in this episode in particular, to talk a little bit about how can you take beautiful pictures of the stars with nothing more than your phone. Now, before we get into taking star pictures with your phone, I just wanted to spend a little time talking about what was on the blog last week. Whenever I post these videos, I'll take a little time just to explain to you some of the neat posts you need to take a look at. We have an incredible group of authors that come from different fields, different backgrounds, some professional astronomers, some hobbyists such as myself, each with their own gifts and a little bit of a different flavor and twist on what they write. Last week, Chris Graney, excellent author, and also now is doing some formal work for the Vatican Observatory, offered a couple great pieces. One, you might be wondering if you stumbled upon this video, I didn't realize the Vatican had an observatory. It's something that a lot of people don't realize. He has a great piece describing how he visited the Vatican Observatory and observed through a telescope that's been restored the Vatican Observatory used to help in this project of mapping the entire night sky. It's a great piece. Don't want to steal Chris's thunder. I have a link for it down below. Take a look at it. You'll enjoy it. Also, too, Chris is the curator, I guess you could say, for our Faith and Science Resource Center page. If you go to the Vatican Observatory website, there's links for both the blog Sacred Space Astronomy, but also our Faith and Science Resource Center. Excellent stuff there. If you're looking for things specifically on faith and science, some of it's pretty heady, deep stuff. Some of it's more light, reflective things. Check that out. Also, every week, Bob Tremblay, who takes care of the tech for Sacred Space Astronomy's webpage, he always does an incredible job of letting you know what's in the sky in the week to come. So, as we talk about taking pictures in time, maybe some of the things that he identifies are things that you would want to try to take a look at. Of course, Brother Guy, the director of the Vatican Observatory, always has his pieces that he shares weekly from the tablet. Also, Deidre Kelligan, I hope I pronounced your name right, Deirdre. My Irish brogue is not all that strong these days, but she is an incredible hobby astronomer who does beautiful drawings and artwork of the stars. She does personal work. She works with schools and kids. This week she offers a great fun piece on what inspired her to do a portrait of Einstein. And again, take a look at that. So Sacred Space Astronomy has tons of stuff for everybody. Check it out in the link below. You're going to enjoy it. Now, to the heart of this video, how can you use your phone to take pictures? If you watched Chris Graney's videos that he had in his piece on the Vatican Observatory telescope that got restored, you saw him post some videos of him taking video images of what he was seeing through the eyepiece. Now, you can do that, and it's tough. And it's even tough if you have, let's see, where did I put that? Here we go. I have this apparatus here, which actually mounts your phone here and then connects to an eyepiece to take a picture of what's in the eyepiece. This is a pain to use. I'll be honest. My success level has been limited with these. I'm going to continue to experiment with these with my telescope, but just to warn you, if you get all excited about buying one of these, it's frustrating. I would say that it probably is a good idea to take the eyepiece you're going to use and just say that this is going to be the one eyepiece you're going to use for the night. And then line it up and use your telescope and focus on something during the day and really get this centered. Because you know how when you look through a telescope, if your eye's off just a little bit, that you really can't see the image, but then finally, and it's a little bit of muscle memory, you finally get to that point where you're looking like, oh, I can see the object finally. That's amplified by about 10 with these things. And so really, yeah, you can use these type of things, but to be honest, from my experience, similar to Chris, I often find that just kind of starting far back and slowly going with your camera, sometimes you get better luck with that. But it's tough. It's hard. How can you take good pictures of the stars? I wrote a piece a few weeks back on how to set up your camera settings to take landscapes of the night sky. Cell phones, you'd be surprised that, granted, are they going to be things that are going to, wow the astronomy world or end up on the front of Astronomy magazine? No, but if your goal is that you just want to get a nice picture of the sky and the stars, something to remember with, it's amazing what you can do with these things. Now, if you have like the latest iPhone or the latest Google Pixel, there are incredible astronomy apps, astrophotography apps, already on your system. I don't have either one of those phones, so you're going to have to experiment with that on yourself. But when we had the astronomy for Catholics in Ministry and Education, I had set up my tracker, which we'll look at the next video. I was all excited to show them how to do tracked astrophotography with a phone. And then I had some people that had the newest phones, those, I don't know if they're Samsung, but they kind of fold, and just kind of unfolded it, no tracking, put it on 2-minute exposures, and the images had no star blur, there was no star trailing. The secret sauce in these apps is amazing. So if you have one of those new phones, I would say, in a weird way, don't start with I'm going to do. Go in and see if you have one of those apps and just experiment with it. Now, I have a little bit, it's still a very nice phone. First world problem I'm talking about here today. But I don't have any of those astrophotography apps. So I'm going to show you how to get your phone set up. And then after that, I'll also put a link to the post below of my astrophotography piece that I wrote, and also just some visuals just so you can kind of double check your settings. So here we go. Okay, now, here we go. Let's slowly walk through together how to set up your phone for astrophotography. I wrote a piece on this, but some of my parishioners got confused. And so I thought maybe it might be good to have a demonstration video to go along with this. So first of all, as goofy as this might sound, you got to find where your camera is on your phone. And I say that not to be patronizing, but I've had parishioners give me their phone saying, "Father, set up my phone to do astrophotography." And I'm kind of swiping through and I'm like, where's your camera? And so therefore, if you've never really used your camera before, or if you have kind of like the little auto click on the side camera thing, you got to open your camera app. So for me, mine is right on the front, super easy. And once you have it open, most camera apps look like this. Let's see if, yep, I think it's going to focus okay on there. And you can see that you have all these different settings. And down here on the side, right above the shutter button, are all these different options. And when you have these options on the bottom, you can just kind of swipe them one direction or the other. So right now it's on photo, now it's on portrait. Here, I'll try to swipe. Whoop, don't want to take a picture of my hand or my bald head. But if you, there we go. If we swipe, it goes through these different modes. Now, some of you might have a night mode on here. Experiment with that. I have a night mode, but when I take pictures of the stars, it really doesn't do a great job, mainly because it's looking for something close to me it can focus on, and it doesn't always do the great job of stars. So what I would encourage you to do is when you look on this, you can see on my phone there's these little icons, and on mine it says manual mode or manual camera. Basically, in some cameras I've seen it says pro mode or something like that. You're looking for what looks like a little wheel. That's what you're looking for on your smartphone. And you want to click on that. And what that does is it opens you up, and all of your camera exposure numbers are in front of you. So basically what you're doing is you're taking over control of your camera so you can punch in the exact settings that you want. Okay? And so you're going to see some things that maybe you know what they are, maybe you don't. So there is going to be like your exposure. I would just say, you know, or your white balance with a little sun. Don't mess with that. That's just going to complicate things. Then you have AF, which means autofocus. And if you click on that, it turns to manual focus. And then you have it's ISO. It's actually a little word. ISO, if you remember, if you had a film camera and you took film, ISO was basically the different kinds of film, and the ISO was a word that was connected with the ability of the film to absorb an image. So for example, I remember back in the day when I had my film camera, astrophotography, you would usually use 400 speed film versus 100 speed. 800 film was for like action sports and that type of stuff. We still use ISO with this, but to be quite frank, it really is kind of a head fake, because all this means is that ISO either increases or decreases the sensitivity of your phone or your camera's sensor. And so therefore you can crank the ISO up and it'll brighten a dark image. The downside is photography is always a trade-off. When you raise your ISO, it also creates heat on the sensor. Heat on a sensor creates noise. And so therefore, like if you've ever had a picture in the dark you've taken with your phone and it looks like it's got this weird grain to it, and maybe there's some bizarre colors that jump out, that's noise. And so it's kind of a balancing act with these phones in terms of you want to expose it right, but sometimes you got to be careful not to overexpose, otherwise your image will look bad. And then the last one, the little wheel here, that's basically how long you're going to leave the shutter open. So what you want to do, and I'll just kind of start, go to the little wheel, go to your shutter. And on my phone, it's right here. I don't know how well you can see that, but you want to go to that shutter. Now, when I click on that, I get this little wheel, this little time wheel. And right now it says 1/8. That means that this camera is set to keep the shutter open for 1/8 of a second. Now, to do a landscape with your cell phone, you want to open that up, on the dark end it's 1/4000th. Obviously we don't want that. But you can go, on my phone anyway, I can go all the way up to 20 seconds and it's completely blown out. But really for astrophotography with your phone, you're going to want to set that for 20 seconds. So basically for me, it's just a little wheel, kind of push and pull. That went to 1/4000th, and then that opens it up as wide as it can go. Now with the ISO, every phone's a little different. I like to usually set my ISO level to about 800, but also something you can try too. Like the highest ISO on this phone, and the image looks horrible because it's blown out, but is 3200. Sometimes it's not a bad idea. Start with the highest ISO number. So for me, the ISO button is right next to the exposure button. And then if you take a picture and it doesn't look that hot, if it gets kind of noisy, just dial it down one, take another picture, dial it down one, take another picture, dial it down until you kind of hit that sweet spot between stars that are well exposed, but also, at the same time, though, too, that isn't too noisy. Now, with the autofocus, manual focus, here, let me just so you're not staring at a at a white screen. Here, let's readjust some things. So, starting from autofocus. So right now it's in autofocus mode. So you can see that little box means it identifies my face. But when you look at the AF/MF, you want to hit that button. And then again, you're going to get, this little dial. Now my phone is really nice because there's two little icons. There's a flower and a mountain. A flower is for focusing on something really close, like if you're going to take a picture of a flower that's sitting on your desk. The mountain is if you're going to take a picture of something really far away. That's what we call infinity focus. You want to set this for the mountain. Now, some of your phones might not have that. I hope they do, because it makes life a lot easier. But if your phone doesn't, what you can do, because most of them have these little touch sliders, you can literally just focus on something and then just move that slider back and forth and see if it's blurry or clear. And so therefore, if you have an object in front of you, like a flower, and it clears up when you go one direction, you know that that's close focus. So you actually want to go the opposite direction to take pictures of the stars. So open up your exposure for 20 seconds if you can. ISO as high as you can go, and then dial it down. Manual focus, set it to infinity. And then all you have to do at that point is either take a picture, or one other thing that I would encourage right up here, there's that self-timer. Do you remember when you were young and your dad would set up the camera to take some pictures, and he would set the timer so you could run in, and then everybody's all discombobulated and trying to freeze before the shutter goes off? If you have that, it usually looks like a little clock. For mine, I can set it for 10 seconds, 5 or 2 seconds. Usually if you're taking a landscape picture, if you have a 2 or 3 second delay, that's enough. But I would encourage you to set that delay so it counts off a few before it takes the picture. Why do we do that? In order for you to take good astrophotography, you need your phone to be stable and not shaking. Otherwise, the image isn't going to come out well. And so therefore, if you put the, your timer on, then that's going to give a little time for the camera to stop shaking, and then at that point you can take your picture. Now, how do you do that? Do you hand hold it? Well, I guess you could hand hold your phone for 20 seconds. I would not recommend it. So then what you need to do, and now think about it. Have I asked you to go out and buy anything new at this point? A phone, I'm presuming you all have. Most people have a camera tripod in their house, so maybe you have to go out and buy a camera tripod. But for something like this, you don't need an expensive one. You can get like a $20 big box store tripod that'll be just enough. And then the other thing you need is one of these. And again, you can find these at big box stores now because these smartphones are being used for so many different things. And what this is a cell phone adapter for your tripod. And the way that it works, you just take it and you clip it onto your phone. It has, on this is a hot shoe adapter. I put this on top of my camera. But they have, a little adapters that you can put, the tripod foot on, mount it on your tripod, and away you go. $5-10, I think these things cost. So at most, $30 if you need to buy the whole enchilada of a tripod and the adapter. And then after that, set it up. Look at Bob Tremblay's What's in the Sky Tonight and go and shoot. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh, Father, I want to take a picture of the Milky Way. I want to get those beautiful galactic core pictures. Again, keep your expectations at a modest level. These do a nice job, but they're not, professional cameras by any stretch of imagination. But you'll be surprised at how good of an image you can take. But I would encourage you, if there's one thing, I can't remember if it's a free app or if you have to pay for it. I've had this on my phone for such a long time that I can't remember what it is. But I have some apps on my phone for astronomy that I use. I have a digital compass to make sure, and when we get into my other forms of astrophotography, we'll take a look at, alignment and that kind of stuff. I have eBird app on here because I also do some hobby birding. But I also have a light pollution map. We'll talk about that in the future. But I have this app here called Stellarium. And there's a lot of different astronomy apps for the night sky. But I just really find Stellarium is just my favorite. As you can see on here, it's not going to work properly because you do have to calibrate it. So when you're out in the field, you kind of calibrate it. And what happens is that it's one of those cool apps that as you kind of move it around, it shows you what you're looking at. And you can kind of pinch in to kind of get the wide view of things, or kind of extend out. And so if you want to find out, okay, where's the galactic core going to be tonight, you can do this and just kind of move your phone around first before you take a picture. Oh, there's where it's going to be. And then you can set up your tripod and take a picture. Now, sadly, I was hoping to take my camera out tonight and do a demonstration video for you and put it at the end on In the Field. Here's how you do it. Clouds. I'm cooked. So therefore, get out and experiment with that. And so that's my encouragement for you this week. Take your phone. Give it a shot if you've got clear skies. And then next week, I'll show you how to edit those pictures. And then we're going to take a step from what I would want to call level 1 astrophotography to level 2 astrophotography. And what does that mean? Level 2, we're going to take one of these, and we're going to take this, what's called a tracker, and I'm going to show you the beautiful simplicity and how it's really not that hard to do nice tracked images of the night skies. I love that ring. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you for joining the Vatican Observatory Fanboy. We'll see you next time.